What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the opinionated hippie. Still struggling to get my voice back, but life goes on. Today I'm going to start a deep dive into Iron Maiden studio albums. Going to start with just the 80s. 7 albums. One could argue, and we'll see if that's my argument, that these are their best 7 albums. Maybe not. We'll find out as we go forward. But they're all pretty excellent. Even as keyboards are discovered and the band gets a little bit softer, there's still some really intriguing music. We got the two with their original lead singer. Then Bruce joins up. McBrain joins on drums eventually. We get the classic lineup for a while. Smith would leave once we hit the 90s and things get weird for a while. But we're going to start with just these first 7 albums. The iconic Iron Maiden. Of all the bands, like I know a lot of different people who like a lot of different music. Iron Maiden is one of those that kind of like everybody's got a favorite Iron Maiden album, and everybody seems to have a relationship with Iron Maiden. Of all the sort of new wave of British metal bands, Iron Maiden seems to be the one that has dips its toes in a lot of people's sort of likes. I don't know if that made sense at all. The Zappa connection. Iron Maiden does a fantastic cover of Jethro Tull's Cross-Eyed Mary. Awesome cover of Cross-Eyed Mary. And Eddie Jobson, who played with Zappa, was also in Jethro Tull. So that's my connection. There might be another connection, but I knew that one existed, so that's the one I'm going with. But yeah, I'm going to talk about the first 7 albums. I'll put the list on the screen when I'm done. You let me know your favorites. Then we'll hit we'll combine, I don't know what we'll do with the remaining 10 albums. I think that's how many we had total, was 17. But we'll do something, maybe break that up into 2 smaller videos, right? We got 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17. So we got 10 more after this. But anyways, we're going to start with these original 7 and then ask ourselves, are any of the remaining 10 good enough to crack the top 7 that this is? And I'm rambling. So anyways, let's get on to number 7. Number 7 is their seventh son of a seventh son. That's 4 sevens. If we were in Vegas, we would have just wanted a slot machine, but we're not. Not synthesizers, keyboards are discovered, and right off the bat, we get like this nice acoustic little intro. Then we get like these keyboards that come in that have this sort of dramatic vibe, sort of like a Who-esque type, early Who discover of synths. Before we go into a pretty good then metal galloping driven song in the opening track, Moonchild. But right off the bat, like they're there. Acoustic energy's there. The keyboard energy is there. And yes, we do get a nice high energy opener after that, but we have declared our affinity for keyboards. I would say the second half of this album is stronger than the first half. The second half at times even flirts with like radio friendliness. I mean, Can I Play With Madness? Can I Play With Madness? Like if this was a little bit softer in its sort of musical attack, we could have had a hit. We could have been any number of sort of one-hit wonder or passing in the night type 80s hard rock bands. We're definitely leaning towards that. And I think the first half of the album, Moonchild, Infinite Dreams, Can I Play With Madness, The Evil That Men Do, some good stuff, but it's definitely not as heavy as some of the early stuff, though the band is still the band. So Steve Harris's bass lines are still absolutely galloping incredible. The Murray Smith sort of twin guitar attack is fantastic. Dickinson is fantastic. McBrain on drums is fantastic. It's just feels a little bit lighter. Moonchild, great opener. Infinite Dreams, kind of a nice low-key guitar intro, but then we get some kind of mid-tempo hard rock vibes, kind of for the most part. A lot of these songs, a lot of what Maiden does is we get these long, lengthy instrumental passages in the middle, which the band is like soloing and doing like almost like proggy work. Infinite Dreams has that, kind of saves the song. Can I Play With Madness is catchy. The Evil That Men Do, kind of okay, but not that heavy of a song. The second half gets a lot more interesting. Seventh son of a seventh son. Big dramatic opening. We get some nice swagger. We get a nice swing groove. We get a total breakdown in the middle that has this almost like Reminds me of Moe's Jazz Wake, where they're just kind of riding the cymbals as we slowly build up things. Completely different shift. New riff gets introduced halfway through this song. The title track is like close to 10 minutes long. It's definitely a lot more of a ambitious track than anything on the first half. The Prophecy, probably the best song on here. Slow ballady intro with the guitar like playing lines like off in the distance. Like you just feel like they're like back there just playing this spooky stuff. We get this sort of mid-tempo drop about 45 seconds in. Really nice drum and bass work in this. Again, we get some nice tempo shift, something they do really well. An acoustic ending that almost sounds like Tull-esque. The Jethro Tull connection coming in again. The Clairvoyant is an awesome song. Really great bass opening to that. Harris is always amazing. And then the closing, Only the Good Die Young. Kind of okay. We returned a little Moonchild tease at the end. Think it's a concept album around the seventh son of a seventh son. I don't think the concept is that necessary to enjoying this album, or maybe if I knew the concept more, I would rank it higher than number 7. But musically, it's just the sharp edges aren't as sharp. It's a little flirting with 80s hard rock material at times, but I still enjoy it, still think it's good. But it's my number 7, seventh son of a seventh son. Number 6 is their sixth, 1986's. Wow. Somewhere in time, the numbers are all working together. This is the album they put out after like they became giants after the release of Power Slave and toured the world and apparently were exhausted, but still managed to put out a really great album. Also, we're flirting a little more with melodic, radio friendly kind of tunes. Wasted Years, one of the highlights of this album, has this awesome riff that opens and kind of repeats throughout, kind of a twisted metal version of a Spirit of the Radio type thing. And that kind of weaves in out a song that for otherwise is a very kind of radio friendly, melodic type song, kind of almost a, dare I say, poppy chorus, but it works with that incredible riff that kind of weaves its way through. And so there is more of a radio friendly vibe, though it still is, Harris is still on bass. We got those awesome galloping grooves. The opening, Caught Somewhere in Time. I think one of the things that has really impressed me with their first 5 albums is how just out of the park they hit it with their opening song. I'm not the biggest fan of the opening song, and it's the first time where the opening song for me wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is a top 10 track. Still a good song. I do think it's 7.5 minutes. This is one of the rare times where I'm like, they could have trimmed the fat a little in the middle, like the middle long instrumental break. It's still good, but it's the first time I had that thought. Still fantastic though. Wasted Years is the second song, fantastic. Sea of Madness, probably the most upbeat, high energy thing so far on the album. Heaven Can Wait, really nice proggy sort of intro, goes into this tight driving groove. This is probably the most metal song on here yet, despite the name Heaven Can Wait. Some really nice sort of runs during the vocals. The middle jam has this, the way somebody's playing the guitar has this almost like mid to early 80s Rush vibe, like a Grace Under Pressure. It's the way they're kind of playing with chords and dynamics, the way Lifeson did with his guitar in that era. Really nice, just driving metal song with a nice proggy middle. Heaven Can Wait, highlight of the album. The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner, 50-second intro that feels lonely, feels isolated, feels a little bit low-key, eerie, like you're just the loneliness of the long distance runner. If anything, Iron Maiden is incredibly literal at times, and if the song is called The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner, it's going to be about being lonely as a long distance runner. Like, and the music is gonna capture the lyrics. They do a really good job of like literally interpreting lyrics to make the music match it. Good job on this. Really nice long instrumental section in this that kind of repeats at the end. Stranger in a Strange Land, another highlight on this album. Bass driven energy the entire time. Just absolutely awesome bass work. Nice slowed down middle that is this really nice melodic solo in it. Deja Vu, Nice drop in this one. We get a lot of drops. The band does a good job of setting up a lot of their songs with either really dramatic kind of big live openings that then drop into a groove, or more like low key, slow burning openings that drop into a groove. They do those things really well. Deja Vu has a lot of energy in it. It's not very heavy, but it's nice and fast. And then we close out with like an epic Alexander the Great. We get howling winds. We get some narration in here. Some acoustic, no, not some acoustic energy, but some almost like a Marshall type drum beat that slowly unfolds as the music goes. Yeah, and then we get some nice steady gallop in. It's an 8.5 minute epic to close the album. Good album, solid, fantastic, dare I say great. But you can tell maybe there's a little wariness after like touring the world and beyond for a number of years, or who knows how many years they toured or what that was like. But yeah, my number 6, Somewhere in Time. Number 5 is their fourth, Peace of Mind. Absolutely fantastic. Great album. Right now, we're just ranking favorites. This isn't about quality. It's just about what you personally like. These are all fantastic albums. This one opens up, this came out in 1983, opens up with the absolutely over-the-top, ambitious, epic Where Eagles Dare. Just absolutely fantastic. The lead-off energy to open this album is just bow down to this. So many, like, the instrumental passages on these albums, like, one of the cool things in like the Dickinson era, especially in this era, it seems like in Bruce, they have this lead vocalist weapon that I just think is fantastic. And yet they also indulge in these really lengthy instrumental passages that go on for so long that you almost forget that Bruce is their lead singer. So when Bruce comes in for like the final chorus or the final verse or the end of the song, you're like, whoa, we just like continue to get up because his energy. And like Where Eagles Dare is just a perfect example of this. Just absolutely amazing opener. The Trooper is on here in the middle of the album, just an absolutely beast of a song. Blistering guitar solos, so much high energy. The opening just guitar bass riff that dominates this thing is fantastic. The closing, To Tame a Land, really interesting ballad. Just lots of really interesting things going on in this. Some great, a lot of great dual guitar lines on this album, where it almost they're evoking that sort of Allman Brothers dual attack or that Thin Lizzy attack. A lot of that throughout here. Revelations, awesome, has this awesome flirts with Sweet Leaf energy almost, where like it's got this really awesome riff. It's like dun dun. It doesn't go into the dun like a Sweet Leaf, but we're evoking some Black Sabbath vibes on Revelations. It's pretty cool. Harris's bass on this entire thing is fantastic. Flight of the Icarus is on here, which is in many ways just like your prototypical Iron Maiden metal song. Die with Your Boots On, nice, awesome kind of start-stop intro. They do that start-stop intro a lot where the guitar's doing something and the bass and drums will drop and then go back and then drop in again. This one also has Die with Your Boots On. Great dual guitar lines in here. Still Life. Almost some like, there's some backward masking on here, specifically, I think, to make people upset. We get some very sort of Scorpions-esque guitar kind of ballad energy on this. Nice melodic hooks in here when the song decides to go big. There's definitely a pop rock vibe in Still Life, but it works. And there's a nice middle section where they're like trading guitar solos. Quest for Fire, about the movie Quest for Fire, is flirting on being a little bit too cheesy, but we do get like a big drum intro with some nice typical Maiden galloping groove in there. And then Sun and Steel, just some straight up galloping metal. Good album, some great stuff on here. One of the best lead-off tracks they've ever dropped in Where Eagles Dare, plus The Trooper is on here. Can't go wrong with this. Flirting with cheese on Quest for Fire a little bit, but it's redeemable. Yeah, that's my number 5. Peace of Mind. My number 4 is their debut album, self-titled Iron Maiden. Their original singer, Paul Di'Anno, is on lead vocals. He would only be there for 2 albums. Does a great job. He's no instantly iconic Dickinson, but he sings really, really well. Murray's on guitar. Harris is on bass. We don't have Smith yet, but Dennis Stratton is on guitar. And one, this came out in 1980, and you just can't go wrong with any album that opens up with Prowler. Just awesome opening riff. You got the propulsive bass driving. The secondary riff comes in, blistering solo. Like almost 4 minutes of perfect, perfect, perfect metal to open this album. Um, Remember Tomorrow, it's kind of a slower ballad, really nice bass playing. Then we drop into this really big, awesome groove. There's sort of your 70s soft to loud dynamic that's going on in Remember Tomorrow. Um, Running Free, a really nice drum and bass intro to start us off. Then we get some sort of really nice kind of metal runs running free throughout the song. Phantom of the Opera is like prog trying to be like a high speed metal song. Kind of sounds a little bit like Queen, but with a much more like intentional metal attack. There's nice tempo shifts in here. We get almost like a pop rock vibe at some point. Clocking in at 7 minutes, it's definitely a mini epic. Phantom of the Opera lives up to the name of what you would have to be if you call a song Phantom of the Opera. We get the incredible instrumental Transylvania that is just amazing, just great energy, high velocity guitar the entire time. Absolutely fun. That goes right into a Strange World. It's like kind of a slower ballady type thing. Nice like melodic guitar that comes in that kind of sets the tone. Vocals don't show up until like almost 2 minutes into the song, so we get a really nice setup for the song. The solo kind of reminds me of what Slash would then bring in the 80s, just one of those very melodic, almost emotionally heartfelt solos. Pretty nice. Charlotte the Harlot, straight up like high speed metal gallop. We downshift into the courses, and they're really kind of nice before we go back into the fast part for the solo part. And then the last song, Iron Maiden, throw a little bit of punk energy in there. Sounds like a really good like song you would end the show with. The song is like a nice live, like leave it all behind kind of crazy ending to it. Just a really nice kind of bass driven with guitar song, the title track. But yeah, great debut, absolutely fantastic, high energy. If I had any complaints, don't put the slower Remember Tomorrow second. Let that drop maybe in the middle. Just hit me hard from the beginning. Just go bam, 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 bam before you give me a time to breathe. I don't need that time to breathe early. But anyways, number 4, their debut, Iron Maiden. Number 3 is their second 1981's Killers. Um, Pretty much not too. The distance between 1 and 2 is not that great. I just think overall, maybe the sequencing and the songwriting is a little bit stronger on this one. Opens with an instrumental, like a 2-minute instrumental that just hits you from the beginning and pulls you in. There's another instrumental, Genghis Khan, on here that is an absolute beast. The bass on here, Harris is out of control. Genghis Khan is absolutely fantastic. There's like crazy like prog metal like type passages throughout. Slightly like Asian vibe in there, but not committed to it too much. But there's a tinge of it in it. Just everything about this album, everything about the song titles, they all work perfectly. The title track is absolutely ridiculous, Killers. Just some fantastic guitar runs throughout this whole thing. Ides of March, the opening instrumental, fantastic. Wrathchild, just great galloping bass opening. Again, the bass, man. Then we get like what is essentially a hard rock groove that kind of takes over. Some nice proggy changes in the solo. Murders in the Rue Morgue. We get a nice sparse opening to kind of set up the eeriness of the song. We got a nice kind of almost dramatic, proggy, epic vibe in this song before we drop into your like high speed groove. Another Life, good song. Got some high speed metal in there. We got some, I think, a bass solo in there. No, we get some crazy bass, and then we go into the solo. We get the awesome Genghis Khan, Innocent Exile, sort of some hard rock metal, very heavy, groovy vibe. Nice proggy changes throughout. The title track hits it out of the park. Prodigal Son, we get a ballady opening, even some like upbeat sort of acoustic vibe in there with some really killer bass playing, kind of proggy. We get some Slash-esque soloing in this, couple solos. but very like uplifting sort of ballad solos. Like at the end, we're going to bring all the energy up and soar through the sky. Um, Purgatory, really nice adrenaline rush, just straight like pedal to the metal type thing. And then the closing Drifter is like kind of a very loose, kind of a rockin' type metal vibe. Very I wrote late night rock hard rock action. It just feels like an end of the album type, like we're all just gonna leave it out behind, but it's a little bit looser and a little bit just more like, I don't know, late night where you're kind of getting a little woozy, I guess, but to close out the album. But yeah, fantastic. Just slightly, maybe a little more consistent in both its sequencing and its just songwriting than the first one. But as far as the lead singer goes, Paul, only on 2 albums, but those albums are both absolutely fantastic. He was 2 for 2. Good job, buddy. But yeah, that's my number 3. Their number 2, Killers. Number 2 is their third Number of the Beast, The Number of the Beast. The first one with Bruce is pretty much a perfect album. Absolutely fantastic. It's at number 2 for personal reasons, because number 1, I have history with that one. But yeah, I mean, where can you go wrong? There's nothing wrong with this album. Invaders opens up, nice dramatic start, and then we just kind of drop into this great metal groove. The energy is like propulsive and forward and just pulls you into the album. Children of the Damned, I don't need ballads, second, but it's nonetheless redeemed itself. But it's got that slow to big ballad energy. I just think you should put the slow stuff later. Just hit me harder, you know. But the song itself is fantastic. The Prisoner starts off with like a movie quote. We go into this big beat with this really nice metal riff, this really just very tightly wound groove, kind of a hooky chorus. 22 Acacia Avenue is just kind of all over the place in the best way possible. Really, really fun. Almost, there are parts of this where like, if Green Day was a metal band, was like a hardcore metal band, you could see what that would sound like. It's a song about the red light district, apparently. Some nice mid-song shift into this really nice kind of snaky, sneaky little riff. It's got this nice sort of power ballady solo midway through the song. Got a nice little ending jam. It's 6.5 minutes of being all over the map, but it's fun and it's exhilarating and it's an absolutely great song. We get the title track, The Number of the Beast. Satan's work is done. Really just almost like an Alice Cooper-esque early 70s kind of sinister occult vibe to some of this. That really, really works. Nice driving hard rock, flirting with hard rock metal. The iconic Run to the Hills. I mean, just that opening riff, that just opening, like when you know that this is about Native Americans running to the hills because the white man has come and you're in danger of your lives. Just the evilness and sinisterness of that opening riff is just more apparent. Absolutely, the definitive galloping Maiden groove. Just a beast of a song. We get Gangland. The opening drum thing kind of reminds me of a Hot for Teacher with that opening like drum intro. We drop into your like tight adrenaline metal. And then the closing epic, Hallowed Be Thy Name, starts off with like your dramatic ballad build. We get the nice drops, kind of into a steady but not too aggressive groove. Some nice proggy passages throughout. A lot of nice just instrumental stuff going on in here. It's definitely a mini epic, a 7-minute mini epic to close the album. Just every song is bringing something a little bit different. A number of these songs are all-time just classics, whether it be metal or hard rock or Iron Maiden or any genre. But yeah, an absolutely thrill of a ride from start to finish. My number 2, The Number of the Beast. And number 1 is 1984's Powerslave, their fifth. When I was a kid, there was another kid living on my block. He's probably 2 years older than me. His name was Brian. He had a basketball hoop on his garage. He had a ping pong table in his garage. He had a pool table in his living room, which is connected to his garage. He lived with his family. He wasn't living alone. But whenever we went to his house to play, we listened to what he listened to. And for about 6 months after Powerslave came out, he listened to Powerslave, and then Powerslave, and then maybe Powerslave, and then maybe Powerslave, then maybe Number of the Beast, maybe Killers, but then again Powerslave. So those of us who hung out with him, we came to know, and most of us came to love Power Slave. Opens up with Aces High. The way they evoke the sound of a air raid siren going off without actually using an air raid siren, and you feel like, oh no, I need to be running into my jet plane to get to the air so I can attack the people attacking us. And then Dickinson comes in with like just like fully committed to the song, like air raids, mentioned the air raid sirens. Like it is an absolutely exhilarating like opening track, and it matches the intensity of, I think it's about World War II, like jet fighters. Yeah, I get that. I'm feeling it. It is perfect. 2 minutes to midnight. Oh my goodness. Absolutely amazing. Lyrics blew our minds when we were kids. Unborn, dying in their womb. What's this about? That nice little breakdown in the middle that's super cool. Little prog dynamics. Lost for Words. Exhilarating metal boogie instrumental. Little melodic riff that kind of repeats in here. It kind of reminds me of like a really metal version of Beck's Freeway Jam. Flash of the Blade, another awesome opening riff, a really great middle instrumental section, some passages throughout that are a little bit trippy, psyche at times. Fantastic. The Duelists, a little more of a restrained song about people dueling each other, man. Nice dynamics throughout here, some nice solos. Back in the Village, Galloping Groove, just another just high speed sort of thing with a really nice long instrumental passage in here. There are long instrumental passages in the middle of these songs are just absolutely fantastic. The rhythm guitar throughout just has this dirty vibe through it that's just really kind of cool. Power Slave, awesome. The title track is amazing, kind of an intense heartbeat opening. Dickinson kind of sounds a little bit darker, a little bit menacing. It's tapping into sort of maybe again they're like Alice Cooper energy without actually sounding like Alice Cooper. Bring Me the Blood in Red Wine. Great song. And then you get an absolutely epic to close the album, the almost 14-minute Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. Starts off with an opening gallop with your just an iconic Maiden sound. We get tempo changes that kind of go along with the story. We get about 5.5 minutes in, we kind of get some nice like quietish type bass coming in, and just low guitar playing progression, just kind of get things low key. And then about 7.5 minutes in, vocals, the song starts to build back up, and then we get some really nice kind of extended solos in the back half of the song. Yeah, absolutely awesome, epic, a true 13 plus epic to close what I would argue is their best album, their most perfect album. Just a slab of new wave of British metal perfection. My number one, Power Slave. And that is what they look like in typewritten form. Yeah, they're all, I mean, those top five are all pretty consistently S tier great. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son and Somewhere in Time, just a little more inconsistent, but still A tier stuff. Yeah, probably A plus tier. But I would say those top five are like, that's an S tier run of albums to start somebody's career. The question going forward, which I'll answer, and I have 10 more albums, might drop that in one video, is does anything crack this? Is anything good enough to beat what they put out in the 80s? That's the discussion. So also, I already have a list of top 10 songs just based on these 7 albums. So I am also interested personally if any of that songs from the remaining 10 albums can crack this list. I have an idea of what that answer is going to be, but we'll find out in the next video. That's all I got. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Let me know your rankings of these albums, your thoughts on Iron Maiden. If you're not into Iron Maiden, make your life better and go check out, I would say, any of these albums. None of them are bad, but check out a couple because they're worth it. But yeah, thanks for watching. That's all I got. Peace. Talk to you later.